Hello everybody and welcome back to the weekly English shooting live stream. Of course, this evening I will be your host, Callum, and I hope you have had a fantastic past week with the weather here in the UK. Maybe not as much shooting in there as you would have liked, but I hope none the same you've managed to get out there and pull some triggers. It's going to be an interesting one tonight. Buckle up, grab the popcorn. It's been a while since we've had I say been a while since we've had some BASC bashing, but yeah, pigeon spaghetti last week. But this is like a dedicated BASC live stream. What could go wrong? Of course, the usual: get involved, have your say, whether you agree or disagree, whether you want to ask any questions, there's any topics you want to discuss, you think that are important for other people to know about, important just to yourself that you want to talk about, then please do use that chat box below. If you are watching this recorded after it being live, then please use the comment section. I do try to read every single comment on this channel, and most importantly, hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed. It's there on the screen. It's free. It's not going to bite. I'm not going to bite unless you ask me very, very nicely. Just go on, just hit that like button. It really does make a difference to the channel in sharing this sport and getting new people taking up shooting and owning firearms here within the UK. So let's get straight into it. This is a be careful what you wish for sort of situation. Of course, we have been wishing for BASC to pull that finger out and actually help us with the lead consultation. Well, they haven't really provided any help, but they have finally, with only a few days to go, released their stance on things, their full stance, their full response. So it's not really their full response, it's more like an itemized summation of their full response, because they haven't actually released their full response to their paying members. But anyway, this went up onto their website today. BASC responds to UK Reach lead ammunition consultation. They managed to pull themselves away from the kitchen and their pigeon spaghetti for all of 5 minutes to put out exactly where they're coming from with their response. Be careful what you wish for, because it's not really too surprising, but they are in part supporting the banning of lead ammunition. In a dossier published on the 6th of May this year, that's how long ago this was. You would have thought something would have come out sooner, but anyway, the Health and Safety Executive HSE under UK Reach proposed a complete ban on outdoor recreational uses of all forms of lead ammunition in England, Scotland and Wales, with limited derogations. The consultation on the proposal closes on the 6th of November. This article coming out on the 2nd. BASC's response. BASC has prepared a comprehensive response, including an online submission to the UK Reach consultation. Good for you. I'm sure there's a lot of other people that would have liked to have done that, maybe with a little support and guidance from an organisation that is pretty well set up to do so. BASC review of the UK Reach Annex 10.5 restriction dossier on lead ammunition, supported by BASC technical report on the accuracy and penetration, accuracy and muzzle energy testing of .243 caliber, 22 long rifle rimfire caliber, and 177 and 22 airgun pellets, all lead-free ammunition. BASC technical report weight retention of lead airgun pellets. These I would be incredibly interested to see. I don't know why they haven't released this as part of, let me give it a double check. I was hoping that there might be something at the bottom. No. So this would be really, really interesting for shooters to look at. Understand where this is heading, like what differences there are. What can we expect in terms of performance from this sort of ammunition? Please, BASC, come on, don't keep it to yourself. Put it out there. I can sort of only assume that the reason that they haven't put them out there is maybe because it confirms what everybody already knows, that lead-free ammunition isn't up to scratch, that we are going to lose performance, that it is potentially going to be more humane using this on live quarries because it's less accurate, it's less consistent, you're able to have less energy going into the animal for a cleaner, swifter kill. So maybe they're sort of playing that to their cards to their chest on that one to reduce any further backlash. Live quarry shooting. There is clear evidence of risk of primary poisoning of birds from lead shot and of the human health risk from exposure to lead in game meat. Now, I'm assuming that this is based off of the findings within the HSE report itself, and potentially further research that they've done themselves as well. But maybe, like, just to help yourselves out, like show it, right? Because it's one thing saying, yeah, there is, absolutely. Well, tell us about it. Right, show us, document it, like give weight to your argument. Don't just categorically state it and just assume we're going to believe it, because we're quite skeptical. Having assessed the evidence, we concluded that restrictions on the sale and use of both lead shot and expanding lead rifle ammunition for live quarry shooting would be effective at eliminating those proven risks. Okay, have they tried anything else? Right? It may, of course, not using something is very effective in removing the risks of that thing. But whilst this is going to be, I guess, in BASC's minds, the easiest way to go through with removing these risks, are there others? Are there other mitigating techniques or other restrictions that we could explore to still keep lead ammunition for live quarry shooting? Is this literally all we can do for it? The transition period for regulation of lead shot and expanding rifle ammunition must be agreed in close consultation with the shooting sector and take account of technical and global supply chain issues. I mean, it's a little bit rich, isn't it? Close consultation with the shooting sector. What about close consultation with your own bloody members? Like, it seems very much, once again, a dictatorship. Rather than working with your members on this, you're just telling them. Again, you're paid by your members. Maybe treat them like the boss, right? To support our position, we have submitted a series of technical reports. These demonstrate the need for raising the threshold of small calibers within UK REACH dossier to include any caliber below 6.5mm. This would provide a longer transition period for calibers such as 243. Very, very interesting statement. So they've obviously gone and done this technical report, and they're saying that they really do need longer. What does that tell you? That obviously what they have tested is not up to scratch, and they need longer for the manufacturers out there to actually meet them to where they want to be. And this is the root issue that we've seen with BASC and their voluntary transition away from lead, because the manufacturers weren't ready. They made it abundantly clear in that very public statement that they weren't ready to transition. And this was before COVID, this was before all the licensing issues, this was in a time where things were booming for the industry. We're in a very, very good place. The manufacturers are saying, you what? Like, this cannot be done. And I think even so, and now they're basically, well, they've shot themselves in the foot, and we knew this is what was going to happen. We knew that this is how it was going to end up. BASC was pushing for this voluntary transition. They were pushing for it far quicker than the industry could deliver. This has then gone hand in hand with HSE and UK REACH and the government going, oh, hang on a minute, here's some low-hanging fruit. Here's a really easy way to completely decimate the shooting community and shooting industry, and the largest organisation is in agreement with it. So we're going to push it. And now BASC are in a very difficult position where they're having to say to them, no, we need longer transition periods. But we also need to transition. And it's like almost like make your mind up. And they have a very weak footing in arguing this now because of this voluntary transition. For rimfire ammunition, we are also asking that restrictions are not implemented until suitable lead-free alternatives can be guaranteed at scale, i.e. we're nowhere near ready. You've opened the floodgates to this transition. Granted, it was a lead shot transition that they were asking to voluntarily transition away from, and now they're having to fight this of lead ammunition. We maintain our view that airgun ammunition should not be restricted, as the risk to human health can be managed through existing sector guidance on game meat handling. We have also prepared a technical report demonstrating the inherent suitability of existing lead-free airgun ammunition for live quarry shooting. So that's sort of 3 for 3. Again, I think this is very much why they're not releasing these technical reports, because they are going to panic the industry. They're going to panic shooters and members that we are heading towards a brick wall when it comes to live quarry shooting. Like, why are they still taking this cooperative position? Right, there's nothing to say that even if they extend the time scales to transition, that we're still going to be ready there at that point. BASC remains committed to the voluntary transition away from lead shot and single-use plastics for shotguns used in live quarry shooting. As such, we believe that further regulation is not required in this area. I think the industry has made it abundantly clear. All the time they can buy lead shot, they are going to use it, which means that they are going to have to regulate to force people to do that, right? That, again, another shooting yourself in the foot as far as this is concerned. Making it so public and just rolling it out as they did, this voluntary transition away from lead, was only ever going to raise a negative response. And that negative response is going to be used against us, because HSE isn't stupid. They know where we stand on this. They know the opposition. They know they can read the temperature of the room where this is concerned. Clay pigeon and target shooting, the evidence presented by HSE on secondary exposure to birds plus lead exposure pathways to livestock and other animals, soil organisms, plants and surface water is not conclusive. We believe that HSE has failed to address uncertainty in the evidence as is required by regulatory guidance. As a result, restrictions based on these risks are unnecessary and disproportionate. If you could just copy and paste that bit and, I don't know, put it up here somewhere, that might be helpful. BASC believes that lead shot could continue. Could continue, not should. Could continue to be used for clay pigeon target shooting at venues where risks of primary exposure to birds is managed. This is, again, one of the biggest concerns for ranges and clubs out there, is that whilst they may allow the use of lead shot and lead ammunition for target and clay pigeon shooting, what are the additional restrictions and management requirements going to be on those businesses and on those clubs? So it's like, again, whilst BASC aren't agreeing with banning it for clay, pigeon and target shooting, they are very much opening the door for HSE making it cost prohibitive for rangers to continue, dependent on what additional requirements are brought in. We also advocate that lead rifle ammunition non-expanded can continue to be used on ranges. We believe that current legal and regulatory frameworks are effective, and further regulation risks the unnecessary gold plating of environmental directives. A long list of requests for HSE. Again, it was just an absolutely cobbled together sort of directive. So many so many assumptions made, so many areas just not correctly, I think, correctly examined, and BASC are trying to hold them to account, basically saying you need to cross all the T's and dot all the I's. Implement a buyback scheme to fairly compensate material loss resulting from restrictions, incentivize the transition to lead-free alternatives, ensure that the restrictions do not create a false or early cliff edge for sales of lead products that undermines manufacturers' ability to invest in development and production of lead-free alternatives. The fact that they're talking about investing and developing, like, that should already be there, right? If we're even talking about transitioning away, that should sort of already be in place, as we know that they are trying. The HSE next steps, the HSE and Environment Agency will review the consultation responses prior to preparing a final restriction report. This report, expected to be published in early summer 2023, will be a set of recommendations to DEFRA. This will provide the basis for legislation. It is likely that a 60-day consultation will launch in February. Another one. Will launch in February 2023 as part of the HSE's social economic impact assessment of proposals. BASC will continue to engage with the HSE and EA as part of the UK REACH process. So just as a quick reminder, again, you literally only have a couple of days now to fill this in. I'm going to put the link in the chat now, so you can click through if you haven't already. If you need any help and guidance in filling that out, then please go and check out a video on the channel. It's the latest upload video where I take you through the consultation. It really should only take you a couple of minutes to do. So basically from that link, I think that link actually takes you straight into the consultation, but if you end up on this page, scroll down to the bottom, call for evidence, do not leave it any later. This closes on the 6th. Do not leave it any longer if you haven't already filled it in. Whilst BASC doesn't seem to feel it doesn't give off the impression that this is very important for people to get involved, I think ultimately they are looking at it that, no, we should have the only voice. Like, that's what I'm very much feeling. Like, this is open to everyone. It is geared towards organizations and institutions more than the individual, but there is an individual response option on the drop down in terms of how you are responding to it. If they didn't want individuals to respond, they wouldn't be encouraging it by having it on a drop down. So I don't know. I honestly just cannot fathom why BASC is not pushing this harder. There's still been no post about sort of filling it out. There's been no real calls for it to be filled out by our organisation, and like, if they're not actively asking people to do it, you can only assume that for some reason they don't want people to do it. If they're worried about people getting the wrong end of the stick and not filling it out correctly, well, why not provide guidance and help for people to fill it in, right? It's taken them 6 months to do this response. I get that it's a very big document. I get that there's a lot of time involved in doing it, but 6 months, this is a professional, full-time staffed organization. This is what they're there for. And I think, again, things seem to be being kept very close to their chest, and they're not necessarily working with the community as a whole, certainly not working with their membership. They're not encouraging people to have their voices heard. It's like, no, don't worry, we'll speak for you. And what they're saying, what they're doing, what they're speaking, I don't think truly reflect the members. Like, the backlash on the post today on Facebook was actually pretty extraordinary. A number of people, and it's like, if you've if you've already made it through the complete lack of opposition they gave to the offensive weapons bill, if you've already made it past the voluntary transition away from lead and the exposed lies that came out of that, if you've made it that far being a BASC member, and you know, and this is what sort of tips you over the edge, I think that really does or should show to BASC actually how much they have messed up here. It will be very interesting to see what their membership figures are like over the previous 4 years, because the sort of things that they continuously do should only be like pointing it in one direction. Yes, you know, overall on balance, I think this year BASC has been pretty neutral in terms of the fantastic work that they have done and the lack of fantastic work that they have or haven't done. So yeah, they're sort of like a net zero now in my mind. I was at points in the year so close to actually going, do you know what, I'll join up. Like, you need, you know, I'll rejoin BASC, I'll get my membership, and then they go and pull stuff like this. So yeah, let me know guys what you think about it. You know, are you a BASC? If you're a BASC member, how are you feeling about this? Do you think that they're representing you and having and voicing your concerns? You know, are you one of these people that have previously cancelled your membership or are about to cancel your membership? It'd be interesting. You know, in some ways I can't really have an opinion of being a BASC member, only just my prior experiences. But, you know, I'm no longer a member, so I think that speaks for itself. Not forgetting, of course, yeah, if you've also made it through the period of BASC removing their legal expenses insurance right before the firearms licensing crisis that we're currently in, with people needing legal expenses insurance more than they ever have. You know, it's like you look at the chart and it's not looking good. I know as individuals, speaking to some of these individuals, they are incredibly passionate and driven, and they are hardworking. Like, I don't doubt that for an absolute second. I just think where they seem to be heading and where they're going is just baffling. Yeah, so let's see what you guys are saying. Brian, well, I read BASC report, phoned them up to cancel my membership. I told them because of their pathetic response, they seem more interested in publishing cooking articles than really important matters. Also, Devon and Cornwall issuing 6-month FAC extensions for renewal applications. Now, we will be getting onto that next. BASC and a load of clown emojis. Yeah, Black Guinea Pig, late start, English Shooting After Dark. With the standard start time of the stream now is sort of 8:30. So yeah, that's been there for a while now. Neil, watching at work, getting paid to watch English shooting. That's the life. I wish somebody paid me to do English shooting. That would be nice. Very much appreciated. So basically, Action Air could one day wind up being on being a Section 1 discipline. I wouldn't go that far, but that it might be relative to the article that we are going to be talking about in a bit. Very nice hat, thank you very much, appreciate it. It's quite new. It's not going to stay this colour for long, I can assure you. Yeah, I fancy something a little bit different, and so many of you were saying how dirty the other black cap was, so I went and did the smartest thing possible and bought a crisp white one. That's going to get, like, it got dirty the first time I used it. I don't know why I bother. But this might be my stream cap. I might like leave this only here for streaming and videos. But yeah, as you know, my sort of colour theme is sort of black and white, and I may be going a bit more on the white. Give it 2 weeks and it'll be stained with sweat. Yes, that's what happens with all of them. I'm going to try washing my older cap, see if that if that comes up, if it comes out nicely. Where's Callum's Magload chef hat? What you cooking tonight? Who needs mum's spaghetti when you can have BASC's spaghetti? We do really need to do like a cooking with Callum, a sort of spoof video, don't we? BASC are going to upload the studies to their OnlyBans account. Is that going to be the same area where they've uploaded their response to the offensive weapons bill? Unless America bans lead, there will be little to no competition in the market, and the R&D and new machinery costs will discourage the manufacturing of or increase the price of ammunition massively. A very, very good point. We have to remember that America does very much lead this industry. They're not necessarily the be-all and the end-all, but that is where a lot of firearms manufacturing takes place. But in terms of ammunition, it's probably more balanced than you think, because we, certainly for shotgun cartridges, we have some of the world leading manufacturers of shotgun cartridges, Europe, and in terms of bullets, again, there's a lot of European countries that are absolutely world class. So I don't know, I think the European market could have quite an impact if there is this general shift, but of course America is going to still give some sort of sway. Carl Volt, thank you for the reminder. Like and share, subscribe, hit that like button, do it. We've got like over 100 people here and less than 50 likes. If you're watching and not liking, why are you watching? In relation to lead in food risk, the question is the risk acceptable? Trace amounts. Do we currently have a crisis around lead poisoning? A very, very good point. I don't think anybody is arguing that lead isn't bad and that you shouldn't be eating it. But you're dying just by going outside and breathing some of the air out there, right? Life kills you. It's like, people smoke, people drink, people throw themselves out of airplanes with a little bit of fabric strapped to their back. Like, life is inherently dangerous, and people, I think, ultimately should be able to choose how dangerous or risky they want it to be. Why not just put the risks on there? They put all the risks of smoking on cigarettes, and yet people still smoke. Why not put the risks of lead shot meat and let people decide? Is there really an issue of people really that switched off to buying lead shot game meat? Have they, what is the statistic there of people taking it up, being made aware of the risks? Just cover your asses, get rid of the liability. But yeah, there's old boys out there that have been shooting for 70 odd years, have been eating lead shot game every week of their lives, and they make it to like grand old ages. It's not, I think the risks overall are acceptable. This sort of zero tolerance thing, I'm sure there's some playgrounds where you could get more exposure to lead than eating some game with it. And let's not forget about the issue of, lead is inert, right? You put some in the ground somewhere, go away and come back 100 years later, it's still going to be there in the same condition that you found it. You put a ball of steel in the ground, go away and come back, you're going to find a little bit more than the steel there, and maybe you could argue some more detrimental effects to the environment with the reactions that these materials have. BASC report says airgun ammo says lead okay because game handling regs make it safe, so why doesn't this apply to other ammo? Very, very good point. James, BASC is very much like a crappy union which is actually buddy-buddy with the management and does very little to actually represent its real members. Yes, that's a very, very strong accusation, something that I've talked about before. A lot of BASC employees, certainly within the firearms department, are ex-police and ex-firearms licensing. Like they've come from that. Let's not forget that the head of BASC's firearms department used to work for Neighbours, like, and that still gives me the heebie-jeebies. So, you know, I wouldn't say it's out of the realms of possibilities that, you know, there are these closed doors meetings where they have these off the cuff negotiations where the government goes, this is going to happen, and BASC go, all right, okay, well, actually just give us this time and maybe give us this as a little win, but yeah, we can make it happen. You know, how do those behind, you know, closed door meetings go on? Is it just BASC going, right, tell us what's going to happen, and we're trying make it come across as good as possible? You know, are they actually fighting the corner? Are they actually trying to be, you know, to stand their ground, or are they just being pulled over? We honestly don't know. Those who makes the most noise wins the public debate. Sad but true. In Sweden, this worked well for us. We are awaiting a lot better gun laws very soon now. Well, that's good to hear. No doubt, in at least a small part due to an incredible woman, Pia Klatia. There is actually an interview that I keep meaning to edit that we filmed together out in Denmark at the Danish Rifle Championship. She is like a dog with a bone. Very, very interesting interview, because we get on to the point about, you know, she's not a politician. She doesn't have this experience, and yet she's had a huge effect. And she's going like, look, if I can have this sort of impact and have this sort of effect, anybody can. It's really down. It's not, we shouldn't as individuals leave it to somebody else, leave it to an organization. We all have a voice. We all have access to social media. We all have access to our MPs and, you know, members of parliament. We can have an effect. You know, like, one individual can have a massive effect. You don't need to be given authority to do so. You don't need to be given permission, right? Just, if you think, if you feel there's something that you can be doing that is beneficial for the sport and for firearms ownership, go out and do it. You'll get told very quickly if others don't agree that it's beneficial, and then it's up to you to either agree with them or disagree with them. If I agreed with everybody out there, everybody's opinions about what I get up to, I probably wouldn't do a lot. So yeah. But in terms of making the most noise, you know, exactly sort of case in point, right? We need to be vocal. We need to fill in these consultations. We need to have representation. We need to speak to our MPs. We need to be loud and proud about what we do, because we have nothing to hide. What we do is lawful, it is safe, and it is incredibly well regulated. Why should we shy away from that? If somebody's got an issue with it, that's their issue. That's not your issue. Hey, I have a general question. Is there a website selling 9mm Glocks here in the UK? I'm relatively new to shooting, but I was under the impression these were banned in the UK. Are there exceptions? Do you want the long or do you want the short answer? My name's Callum and this is English Shooting. You're going to get the long one. So yes, there will be websites. I mean, like, let's have a Google. Let's go Glock 9mm UK. So within the UK, there are Section 5 dealers. So there are people with the authority to possess, you know, to purchase, to sell guns that would otherwise be prohibited. So for a general person, you know, if you're not in the firearms business, if you're not manufacturing, if you're not, you know, selling or offering services around these sorts of guns, you know, you're going to be limited to Section 1 and Section 2, which a 9mm Glock is not going to be under. But if you go over to Gun Trader, which is, you know, it's like, you know, one of the largest, I think the largest gun sales website on the for the UK industry, you can see that there are Glocks available, you know, and they're just so annoyingly cheap as well. Like, legally, I would happily give someone 300 quid if it was legal. legally, caveat, legally, I would happily give someone 300 quid right now to be able to have a Glock. I mean, it's in 45. Paul, do you think it meets the? Do you think that would meet major power factor? So yeah, you regularly do see these guns for sale. But let's like click on one. That one actually, I saw the note. So a Glock 19 in 9mm. Please note this is a Section 5 pistol for use as humane dispatch and can be converted to 2-shot. So whilst they're obviously the police and military, they need to buy their guns from people. Oh look, this is another thing. So you know, Northern Ireland, for sale in Northern Ireland only. It's Section 5 and requires that license. So there's a few reasons why people would be allowed to buy them. So humane dispatch is you know, if people are deer stalking, it's dangerous to, you know, if you need to finish off a deer, if you need to humanely dispatch them, it's dangerous to go up there with a long gun, with a rifle, with a shotgun, for a variety of different reasons. So a pistol is the safest, most efficient way. Usually they're revolvers, and usually they restrict the cylinders to 2-shot. It's uncommon to get a Glock or a semi-auto. I'll just say, Matty Howarth, thank you very much joining the Only ES fans. Don't forget you can join too if you want to be a part and get access to some cool emojis. Let me just put one up here. I don't know if you aren't a member, if you can actually see them. Do you want to be able to comment Connor's face as a reaction? Well, you need to be a member, and it helps support the channel. So thank you very much, Matty. Quite very much appreciated. And yeah, so there are legitimate reasons why people will be able to buy Glocks within the UK. There is, of course, as well, Section 7.1 and Section 7.3. There are people that have Glocks under Section 7.3. There are people that have modern day firearms. It's not just for necessarily historically significant ones or older guns. Because you know, if you are building a collection, you know, there's a few people that I'm aware of that they have 40 or 50 plus guns, handguns under their collection for 7.3, and it gets to the point where they've sort of already collected all of the old ones, and to increase their collection they have to buy newer ones. And there are people that are able to get 7.3s and order from the factory. There's one person I know, this was a number of years ago, ordered a special edition Wilson Combat brand new from the factory, and was able to get authority under Section 7.3 to be able to purchase it, because he had amassed such a large collection that it then was appropriate to that collection. So one of the things that, you know, is quoted with 7.3 is technological advancement. So you could say that you are collecting guns that have been significant in the development and advancement in firearms. You know, that's why I say like the 1911 is usually a very good starting point for Section 7.3. But if you start collecting, you know, historically significant or technological advancements throughout the ages, you're eventually going to stumble upon, you know, striker fire Glocks and modern mechanisms to fit within your collection. So no, as a general sort of person into your sport shooting, into your hunting, or hunting, yes, again through the humane dispatch, but don't think of it like you can just go there and start shooting IPSC with it. That's not how it works. But for most people, you're not going to be able to buy or own those. It's only for a very limited few, unfortunately. Should be a warning on the pigeons, may contain lead. King 1 Kong 2. I live in Surrey, but my license is run by East Sussex Department. I had a renewal last month and didn't check my license. I went to buy a Section 1 shotgun, realised that they forgot to add my Section 1. I called them, and the lady said they usually run with a team of 14, but 7 had less left for the past couple of months. They have only just hired 5 more. 3 are starting in a week, and 2 are still to be trained up. She apologised for the mistake and is sending my licence out tomorrow with an amendment, which should have been done anyways. So on that, yeah, but like firearms, like, would you want to be working in firearms licensing at the moment? Like, I can't blame them for leaving, but it does. I know Hampshire went through they lost a load of people and went on a massive recruitment drive. You think about how long, for those of you that have been in the sport for a few years, think back to when you first entered it, right? Back to when you didn't know anything about shooting, and think just about how much you have to learn about this sport and this community, and how complex it can be at certain points. What we can own, how to fill out an application form, what the law is to stay on the right side. Now put your shoes in the person that has to sort of officiate that has to be the voice of reason on that. It's very difficult to train them up, to train people within this, within that role. It's going to take a lot of time and a lot of resources. Pia Cloutier is a friend of mine. She and her husband is awesome. Well, great to hear. If you do see her, so send my love, and tell her the interview will be going out very, very soon. But yeah, let's get on to a interesting topic. I was thinking of making this sort of the main topic this evening, but there is a video in edit. I know that's like my favorite catchphrase, but it will be going out this weekend, because this is pretty serious. This is another pretty much full-blown attack on our sport, shooting sports in general, but also practical shooting. And it's an article. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's been put out by the Daily Record, which is the Sunday Mail up in Scotland. Families of Dunblane victims call for shooting club ban amid fear of trivialising guns. Firearms are being glamorised in a growing craze of combat-style shooting clubs in Scotland. Now, the video goes on, I think, a lot more about the whole aspect of Dunblane and the continued use of Dunblane as a trump card when talking about firearms and legislation and bans. Like, I'm not necessarily going to get into this. I think I just want to go through the article and correct a lot of it. But it's, you just know, it's like just on the note of Dunblane and this article, what does Dunblane have to do with it? Like, honestly, like, practical shooting had nothing to do with Dunblane. The guns that we now use within practical shooting have nothing to do with Dunblane. The people, nothing to do with Dunblane. The actions of one deranged person that clearly shouldn't have had firearms. The legislation and guidance at the time was robust enough to prevent him from having guns. They took away his guns and then gave them back, right? But more on that in the video to come out shortly. The main spark of this article is this brother of a victim of Dunblane, of course. Instantly makes you an expert on firearms legislation and the law, having lost somebody to a firearm. Like, these are not the people. We do not need more laws made by emotion and knee-jerk reactions, right? It's what experience and knowledge do you have around firearms and firearms law, right? You shouldn't be taking the voice of these people as gospel. So let's break down the title, right? So families of Dunblane victims call for shooting club ban. So this isn't about banning guns, right? This is about banning a club and banning particular types of sport. That's where we've got to now, right? Because banning particular guns, obviously work so well. Now we need to ban particular types of sport. Firearms are, at least they didn't call them weapons yet. Firearms are being glamorized. I don't know how they're necessarily being glamorized. They're being used, right? It's not. I haven't seen the boys up at Recoil, you know, putting on their lipstick and tight skirts, glamorizing anything, right? In a growing craze, you know, like it's a growing sport. Combat style shooting clubs in Scotland, no, right? Let's not forget that IPSC did start in advancing techniques for police and military out in America, right? That was 50, 60 years ago. The sport has evolved, right? Javelins used to be thrown at people. We now throw them into fields, right? Things evolve, right? And IPSC is on the pathway to becoming an Olympic sport. This isn't some like just backyard sport. A growing craze of American combat style shooting clubs is glamorizing firearms 25 years after the Dunblane handgun ban. So it's like, what relevance does this have? It's just like something, guns are bad, Dunblane. Like a Sunday Mail investigation has revealed a disturbing spike in practical shooting courses in Scotland, which allows people to fire against the clock using obstacles and improvised shooting positions to hit targets, right? Improvised shooting positions. They're not improvised. They're well practiced, right? You even get a walkthrough on the stage, right? This isn't, in real life you don't get a walkthrough. It's a sport. You get to walk around the stage and decide what positions you're going to use. You get to rehearse those positions that you're going to use during your walkthrough. They are very much not improvised. Footage of one club near Glasgow now being probed by the council shows men ducking and diving around a course, pulling guns out of holsters before discharging quick fire bullets. I mean, we're like one paragraph in. One. Quick fire bullets. What is a quick fire bullet? Like, honestly, right? And this is, I think, is a very good point, right? So, the club previously had no issues with the council or even the police, right? They're well within their sort of the planning permission. They're well within the the regulations of what they're doing and where they are doing it. I mean, the site that Recoil are based on is actually an explosives testing site, right? I'm really not. I don't think the neighbours are going to be worried about a few guns going off now, right? They've been used to regular explosions during the life of that site. So yeah, in terms of planning permission, they are well within that, and it is only because of this article that they are now being, probed, right? And when they say probed, like, they're not being investigated. They're not. This isn't necessarily negative. The council are just like, oh, well, somebody's raised this, and I guess we better check that they're okay. And that's all it is. But they're making it sound like this is some sort of cowboy outfit, which is not. Recoil Scotland said people who did not hold a license and who've never shot a gun before can turn up for a 3-hour training session and then get their hands on the club's pump-action shotgun. This fixation at the moment with pump-action shotguns, we know why. It's because of Plymouth, right? But it's not just pump-actions, right? It's semi-autos. Like, this is how ridiculous it is. It's like, because a pump-action was used in Keyham, that suddenly makes it more dangerous than any other gun out there. Last night, gun control campaigners and families of Dunblane victims said the sport, like, fuck off. I'm sorry. Putting that, it's an internationally recognised sport. There's no quotation marks needed, right? There's no emphasis needed on that. It's a member of the GAISF, right? It is a fully fledged, officiated internationally recognized sport. This isn't some get round, right? Terrified them and called for a ban. Well, that is just it, isn't it? That is just the every single time the reaction. Something that you're scared of, you ban it, right? Instead of trying to understand it, in trying to learn, trying to try it out, to go down there and expose yourself to it. No, we don't like it. We don't understand it. We're terrified of it, so we should ban it. Jack Crozier, whose sister Emma was one of the 16 children killed with the teacher in the 1996 tragedy, said these clubs are trivializing the use of dangerous weapons. They're not weapons because they're not used to harm anyone or anything, while trying to make shooting more accessible. Yes. And watching the videos from some clubs online is terrifying. It's hyped up wannabe action men running around assault courses with lethal weapons, trying to shoot a series of targets as quickly as possible. It's like, what do you mean run a bit? Like, if you drop a serious high-level IPSC competitor in a war zone, they will not last 2 seconds, right? We are not pretending to be anything other than IPSC competitors. That the tactics used in military and in war and in policing and counter-terrorism and all that are worlds apart from the skills that we develop, the skills that we practice. At the end of the day, it's the likes of the special forces, it's the likes of counter-terrorism that actually come to IPSC competitors to learn skills, right? It's not the other way around. Like, we're not trying to be something else. We're trying to be our own thing. These types of clubs glamorize shooting and weapons. I don't get that. No, they're just going out and using them. This is an Americanized sport, and it's everything we want to get away from in the UK. No, it's not. Okay, Practical Shotgun was founded and developed within the UK, mainly because they took away the handguns. Mini Rifle was founded and developed here within the UK, mainly because they took away centerfire full-bore semi-autos. Action Air was developed in Hong Kong, right? So all, and like an LBP shooting, right? Because there's no other country mad enough to inflict a long barrel pistol or revolver on its citizens, right? So all of the IPSC disciplines that are run here within the UK were developed mostly in the UK or Hong Kong. Like, it couldn't be further away from America, right? Yes, like IPSC's grassroots were over in America, and yes, pistol shooting is far more popular out there, but we don't do that, right? I would say actually Europe has a much bigger influence on IPSC than America does. There's certainly more members outside of America than there are inside. This is a global. There are hundreds of countries and hundreds of thousands of people participating in this sport. It is not just America. This fixation that anything gun related has to be American. Jill Marshall Andrews, she's never too far away from something involving a ban and Dunblane. Chair of the Gun Control Network, warned that the UK's gold standard gun laws were in danger of being eroded with the practical shooting craze. What? It's like, sorry? How? We're using firearms that are lawful to possess, that, they're lawfully owned within our legislation. Like, how are we eroding laws? It's just... She said, in 1996, at the time of Dunblane, pistol shooting was the fastest growing sport in the country, and we were going down the American road at that point. The ban on handguns has turned the country around and prevented that drift towards American gun culture. Now that seems to be happening again. Sorry, what is American gun culture, right? Is that how easy it is to buy a firearm? Because it's never been easy to buy a firearm, right? Not in the last, say, 50 odd, well, no, say, in the last 50 odd years, right? It's not been particularly easy, right? Are we talking about the right to bear arms in terms of the American culture? Because we certainly don't have that. I know technically with the Bill of Rights we do, but let's not get into that. Practically, we don't have the right to bear arms. Are we talking about the size of people's collections, right? Or the percentage of firearms ownership across the country? Any metric you look at, we couldn't be further away from the American gun culture. First of all, we have certification. American doesn't. Second of all, we do not have this God-given right to the right to bear arms. America does. The average size of people's firearms collections here are a tenth of that out in America. In a population of 300 million, there's a reported 150, 200 million guns. We are a population of 70 million-ish, give or take, and yet there are 2-3 million lawfully held firearms. There's 700,000 I think it's closer to 600,000 total licensed firearms owners in the UK. It just doesn't stack up. And this is an argument that is used time and time again about, we don't want America, we don't want America, we don't want America. But we're not heading towards America. That's not an issue, right? Our laws are very, very different. Our firearms and our firearms culture here is never been close to America. Other than, pistol shooting was getting very popular. That's okay, all right. That's maybe the a link. People like their handguns out in America, and people were beginning to really like their handguns here. Apart from that, chalk and cheese. The guns used are, oh god, it's this segment. Oh sorry, I'm gonna have to build up some. This just hurts me to read. Genuine physical pain in my brain. The guns clubs use are legal in the UK. Thank you for that. Gas-powered guns and rifles called action air weapons. Right. Yeah, no. The discipline, the sport, is called action air. That they're not weapons because they're not used to hurt anything. They're actually technically realistic imitation firearms. That's their official name. But they're called airsoft guns or BB guns, not these action air weapons. That's a new phrase. Thank you for that. And we do not have rifles within action air. That's it's action air is purely a handgun discipline at the moment. Have become very popular in the US. No, they haven't. In America, they have real guns. They don't need to use action air. And Europe in recent. No, it started in Hong Kong, you bastards. What are you doing? It's yes, it's growing slightly in Europe, but it's out in Asia. That's where it started and is incredibly popular. The US, I don't think the US have even heard of action air. It's they've become popular because as they don't require licenses. Recoil Scotland, based in Shotts, runs practical shotgun, mini rifle, long barrel pistol disciplines. No and no, they only take part in practical shotgun and action air. They don't do mini rifle, and they don't do long barrel pistol. Not at the site. On its website, it claims to be Scotland's newest and fastest growing practical shooting club and boasts of plans to expand to more than 10 ranges across the country. The club, paid for by members, offers guests a 3-hour safety session where participants who've never fired a gun before are allowed on their ranges. Yeah, that's sort of the point, right? They allow them onto the ranges to shoot a gun they haven't shot before for a safety session, right? No other club has this, right? As far as I am aware, no other practical shooting club has a mandatory training session of this length, right? And I know what standard they run to, right? This is basically a reduced, full-blown competition safety course. And that is what you are required before you are even allowed to join. You know, they literally some of their members are actually some of the most experienced and knowledgeable when it comes to safety courses and training. Right? They have some of the country's foremost experts a part of their club, and that shows in the level of competitors that they are producing. Like these boys have they've only been on the scene like a couple of years, and they're already at national competitions up in the top results, right? You don't do that with subpar training and subpar safety. The club's website says the following safety induction: it expects probationals to have applied for and be in possession of a shotgun certificate by the end of 6 months. Again, a very important point, that, right? That means that they are vetted by the police. If you have gone and got a shotgun certificate, the police are happy that you are of sound mind and you're not a danger. Right, so they expect you. There's a lot of clubs that don't even push their members to go and get a shotgun or firearms certificate. Right, there are some clubs that are more than happy if you just want to use the club guns and never go for licensing. It's far harder to vet that person in that case. If somebody turns up with a firearm and or shotgun certificate, they've been through pretty rigorous checks, and I think that's a huge point that they're missing, mainly because they don't understand. Firearms and firearms licensing and firearms law. Videos on the club Facebook page. Site shows members and guests doing practical shooting, and one video uploaded October 2020. One shooter runs around fences and barriers to hit a human-shaped metal cutout. This is complete bollocks. Absolutely complete bollocks. Human-shaped targets are explicitly prohibited within IPSC. You are not allowed to use, and this is another different, like in America, the USPSA has an American flavour of IPSC. It's not actually full-blown IPSC because they are still allowed to use humanoid targets out in America. But we're not. So it's not Americanized. The European element is prevailing in that sense. In IPSC, the only place where you can shoot at something vaguely human shaped is in America. In the UK, they are diamond shaped, right? So this is just an outright lie, but define a human, what they're saying is that is a human shaped target. I've met a lot of people in my time. I've never met somebody that looks like that. They have a go that they were shooting in Christmas hats. A Recoil Scotland range with lines down a farm track isn't advertised, no, because they don't want to, compromise security. I don't know, naming and identifying people as firearms owners and telling people where they live, right? They want to be smart about their security because we are dealing with firearms and we do not want the wrong people to get involved in it. With only map coordinates given on the website behind a 6-foot fence and locked gates, assign walls, trespassers not to enter due to live firing 24 hours. The club's warehouse, which serves as an action air range, is visible from the outskirts, and a flag bearing a skull and crossbones flickers on the mast in the wind from a wooden pirate ship. So, you know, they're trying to make it sound like, again, they're just a bunch of retrobates, you know, Jolly Rogers and this, that and the other. What they don't understand is actually the amount of time and effort that was put into building that pirate ship for a stage, right? Again, what is that simulating, right? It's like shooting from a pirate ship. That is purely for the sport. That is purely for the fun of it, right? And they wanted to spice it up with a bit of a, you know, Jolly Roger, and they seem to have a bit of an issue with that. Recoil Scotland does not advertise its registered address and main training address due to site security purposes. Yes, completely understandable. So it's investigating the firm. It confirmed a planning application did not exist for Recoil's new site. It's been there for 3 years. They don't need planning application for it. You know, I don't know if they're operating under the 28-day rule, but in talking to the guys previously, they were well within planning regulations. Jack, 29, who now lives in London, said, "We need to get ahead of this before it goes any further. It's being called sport, but there is no place for it in Scotland." But why? You don't want to teach people respect or firearms. You don't want to teach them to be able to use them safely and responsibly. The people running these clubs know what happened in Dunblane, and they are willfully ignoring that for the sake of money in their pocket. Again, couldn't be further from the truth. They're willfully ignoring Dunblane because it has absolutely nothing to do with the sensible, lawful firearms owners within their club. And they are not making, this isn't a money-making scheme. The founding members have put thousands of pounds of their own money to start this club start this club up, right? They're not making money from it. This is a volunteer-led club. It's run by volunteers. It's run by its members for its members. This is not a money-making scheme. This is not a business. We don't need to wait until something happens to learn the lessons. We have already learnt the lessons. Places like this should be shut down, licenses taken away, and preventative measures put in place to make sure places like this are never opened again. Like, this is the thing. If you're really worried about the skills and techniques that people are learning within practical shooting, why aren't you trying to shut down paintball? Why aren't you trying to shut down skirmishing and airsoft clubs? Not action air. Like, we don't shoot at people. We don't practice tactics of shooting at people. We don't encourage unsafe handling of firearms, right? I'm not saying necessarily that it's encouraged, unsafe handling is encouraged at paintballing or skirmishing, but the skills and tactics that you are learning at those clubs should terrify this person even more, right? The type of weapons these people are using on the ranges is something that can fire a lot of bullets very quickly. It doesn't matter the caliber or velocity of that bullet. If it hits you, it's still a bullet. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yes, yeah, good one that. Yeah, bullets don't magically transform when they hit you. Like, whatever it was when it left the gun, it's going to be the same thing by the time it reaches you, right? And I can assure you that the caliber or velocity of the bullet makes a very big difference if it hits you, right? I'm not going to volunteer to stand in front of a 12 gauge. I might volunteer to stand in front of a 6mm BB gun, right? It does very much matter the caliber and velocity of the bullet. Like, trust me, there is no argument to justify the use of these weapons for sport, other than the argument that within the UK there has never been a death within practical shooting. Actually, practical shooting has, across the world, one of, if not the highest safety record of any other shooting discipline. That mass shootings across the world are never linked to people that take part in practical shooting, right? They are, sad, lonely individuals. This is a very communal sport. This is not, you don't get into practical shooting for these sort of these horrific reasons, right? You get into it to like better your own skills within shooting. Like, that's why I love practical shooting, because for me it combines all these different aspects from other shooting sports into one, and you need to get very good at every aspect to even think about winning, right? And that it's a bigger challenge, I think. Ultimately, for me as a competitor, it gives a bigger challenge than any other discipline out there, right? So you can justify it. You can justify it because it's incredibly safe, that people that take part in it are some of the highest vetted people within shooting sports. Let's not forget that to take part in practical shooting, you ideally need a firearms certificate. That means, not just a shotgun certificate. If you've got a firearms certificate, that means you've been a full member of a Home Office approved club for at least 3 or 6 months. You've met people, you've been vetted by them, you've had further vetting from the police, and you need further justification to have those guns. I think the biggest argument is that we're not hurting anybody. No one's being hurt by it. People might be a little bit scared, but that's due to misunderstanding. They're scared of what they don't know and what they don't understand. It's like my mum and dad's Yorkie barking at trees moving in the wind, right? They don't understand it, so they're scared of it. And this is nothing more. The Sunday Mail, along with Dunblane families, campaigned tirelessly for gun control after the atrocity. The Snowdrop campaign, which gathered 1 million signatures, including 450,000 from our readers, became law in October 1997. A repeated request to, I'm not going to get into. I'll get into this. I will do it. So this again, it's like this is continuously hailed as a success, right? Let's go through the numbers, okay? Firearms offences continuously rose after Dunblane and after the ban, right? So you didn't reduce gun crime; it increased. Handguns still account for the single largest proportion of firearms offences than any other firearm. 40% of all firearm offences are committed with a handgun. The outright majority of firearm deaths each year are down to a handgun. Tell me how that has worked, right? It's increased, and we still, if you're saying there is an issue, it is still there, right? But on average, it's 20 odd deaths a year. Yes, one death is too much, right? But put it into perspective. There is far more risk to children out there, from knife crime, from drink drivers, from swimming pools and swimming in the sea. It is not a significant enough risk for this disproportionate amount of attention. And once again, they are missing the real issue. We're going to get onto it in a second about the crisis of firearms licensing. It's a continuous theme, right? Multiple experts have recently come out and said that it is only a matter of time until we have another Plymouth, another Hungerford, another Cumbria, even another Dunblane, right? Because firearms licensing is not up to scratch. And they're saying if they don't get out of this crisis, if they don't become more efficient and actually do the job that they're meant to do, somebody again is going to fall through the cracks. Somebody again is going to be in possession of firearms when they are not suitable and not in a fit state of mind, and they're going to commit another atrocious act. So if this is really about the prevention of the loss of life, then switch your attention to the crisis of firearms licensing, not lawful gun owners and guns that are in possession lawfully. There's a big neon bloody sign pointing you at the moment just with a little bit of research to where the real issues are. But no, we just need to ban it. Right? They're never going to be successful in completely banning firearms ownership. Right? There are too many incredibly wealthy, incredibly powerful people that enjoy certain pursuits with firearms. Right? We may lose a lot of the guns that can be owned, but I would put a lot of money that it is going to be a very, very, very long time at the bare minimum that we lose side-by-sides, over and unders, and bolt-action rifles. Okay, so firearms ownership is here to stay. You can't press the delete button on firearms. Okay, so we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that one. So firearms are going to be out there. What is the most important thing, right, in terms of preventing gun crime? It's the person. It's not the particular gun that they have. It's not the particular sport that they do. It is the particular person. If you are able to vet the person efficiently and effectively, you would never have an issue. It doesn't matter what gun. You could give them a full auto MP5. If you vetted them correctly, you won't have a problem, because they should be sensible, law-abiding people, which the like firearms owners by definition are. But with less efficient vetting, with less effective vetting that we have seen specifically in Devon and Cornwall with Plymouth, that's when people slip through the gaps. They obtain firearms when they're not suitable. They're given back their firearms when they are not suitable. So all this is tragic, because you're using this horrific event and you're trying to use it for some good, right? But you're missing the point, and you're missing the real issues. It's being wasted, and I think that's the modern day tragedy of Dunblane and any mass shooting and any gun control campaigning, is that the real issues are continuously missed. It literally ends up being for nothing. How sad is that? They have the media's attention, they have the ability and the clout to be able to have a positive impact, and it's completely wasted. So this is apart from it being confirmed that certain people are sidekicks, in terms of being contacted, yes, as far as I'm aware, the guys at Recoil, the committee, attempts were made to contact them. In terms of the timeline, I understand that they contacted them Friday evening with a deadline of Saturday lunchtime. Now, okay, they did give them the opportunity for comment, but this is not a professional organisation or a professional business, right? These are volunteers that are quite new to the sport. They're leaning on extensive experience and knowledge from more, from people that have been in the sport a lot longer, and they didn't know what to do. They're not trained in the media. They have no experience in dealing with the media. So giving them less than 24 hours to actually try and balance things, to really have a positive impact in what they were going to say. So they took, I think initially they've taken the best approach, which is not to speak to the journalist. And there's something about apparently them two stepping away from the club. That's not true at all. That was misconstrued. The guys concerning this are very much still part of the club. It's just been twisted, and this is the game that journalists play. But I don't think they should be silent. I don't think they should try and let this blow over, because this isn't the first article, right? That is the same page. Oh no, it's just they've just used the same photo. Lazy, feckless journalism at its finest. This was put out a couple of weeks ago, right? So there's already been one article about Dunblane and gun control. Now there's been another, and this is exactly what we saw with the Times. They started off, and then they kept coming, and they kept coming, and they kept coming. It's only when you call these people out, it's only when you give balance to the ridiculously incorrect narrative that they're trying to spin here, that they go, oh, hang on a minute, yeah, this is a lot of work, and I'm being made to look like an idiot. I think I will step away. So, you know, yeah, no one's talking to that at the moment. I think longer term that is the wrong move. I think something, you know, an official statement from the club definitely needs to come out. I think an official statement from the UK PSA needs to come out. But I don't think we should shy away from engaging with these people, right? They're going to write these articles. You know, this whole thing about, you know, oh, we could make it worse. Well, they're going, like, the amount of inaccuracies in this article, like, I don't know how you can make it worse with facts. You know, you have to, of course, you have to be wary and careful of what you're saying, but you're dealing, you have an advantage here, right? Because you're dealing with the law, you're dealing with the facts, and they can try and spin and twist what you say. If what you are saying is factually incorrect, is factually correct, then that's all they can quote. Yeah, that's the number of firearm offences has also risen in Scotland in recent years. Yeah, you know, like they're trying that some vague attachment that it's due to practical shooting. Like, no. Like, no, it's gun crime has been rising for many years out there. There's nothing to suggest that any of the clubs in Scotland or their members are operating out with the law. The Scottish Government is responsible for granting and approving to any rifle, mini rifle, or muzzle loading pistol club. They were unable to confirm yesterday if they'd granted a licence to Recoil Scotland. Again, they don't need to. A spokesman would only issue this statement. Decisions about granting firearm, shotgun, or weapons certificates are operational matters for the police. Just an utterly ridiculous article, and just slapping the Dunblane card on there to give it some sort of like an official stance, like, you know, oh, we've got a family member of a victim, therefore it's, you know, it's rubber stamp to go. Yeah, exactly. What have firearms offences got to do with legal use and ownership? The media rule is, if it bleeds, it leads. You'll never get a news story which is nuanced or paints shooting sports positively. Pointing at the gun is easy. Pointing at the problem is an essay. But this is why I think we should be engaging with them, because, like, when you say you go, when this is put in front of them and you go, this is the real issue, right? You know, do you want to potentially save people's lives? Yes. Do you understand that this isn't going to do it and this is, you know, for these reasons? Oh no, I'm not interested in that. So that's not what you're interested in, right? It's exposing them for the fact that they just want to sell newspapers. They don't care. It is purely a callous exercise of exploiting these families and victims to sell a newspaper. It's not about the real issues. It's not about that they actually care. Now, granted, I think the brother is just generally, you know, misguided in what he thinks is going to prevent shootings in the future. But this journalist, you know, or this reporter, using this brother and the story of Dunblane and, you know, practical shooting as some scapegoat to sell your newspaper, like, no. You want to open up the conversation about Dunblane. You want to open up the conversation about how we actually stop things. Then let's open it up. Let's have that conversation, and actually try and make some progress for once, rather than these misguided articles. So, as I said, there's going to be sort of a slightly different it's not a slightly different take, but certainly a more concise video on the key points and a general discussion about, this. I think ultimately what we have to call out is this trump carding of Dunblane. It just because you mentioned Dunblane doesn't make what you're saying automatically correct. It's not, being shot by a gun or having a family member shot by a gun, that doesn't give you any authority on the matter. Like, yes, incredibly tragic, not something that I would wish on anybody. And I can't imagine what some of these family members have gone through. And of course, speak about your speak about your experiences. Drive home how important it is that firearms licensing gets it right. Drive home that the important points of not letting people that are not suitable getting hold of firearms. Like, I'm in complete agreement with that, but don't go off on this narrative of banning guns works, because it doesn't. It's never been proven. Banning a particular type of gun has never proven to reduce crime. In areas where guns have been banned completely, people just find other weapons, right? And that's the greatest loss, is we lose an industry, we lose a community for absolutely no reason. And I think it's about time that there is the opposition put against it, going, you are wasting valuable resources on a personal emotional vendetta, and that's all it is. And it's just so sad and frustrating that it could be used for some good. We should send the Daily Record this link for Actionair. What link? Black Guinea Pig, the bloke pushing the works for a major the bloke pushing the works for a major alcohol company. I bet he doesn't think we should ban booze to stop drink driving. It's awful, people died, but that doesn't mean we are to blame. The bloke pushing works for a major alcohol company. You're just continuously full of incredible nuggets. That sounds wrong. Is that true? Well, I know it is. You're incredibly. Unfortunately, there's no picture. Yeah, London. I'm just going to wait for you to send your source, because but I can find a LinkedIn page, but yeah, I mean London, I can't see enough to necessarily confirm it, but this is what I can find on LinkedIn. University of Dundee company. Let's have a look at the company website in a minute. Well, yeah, okay, that's pretty conclusive. So yes, okay, right. So, didn't it come on? So yes, I mean, that's irony, isn't it? Really, how utterly ridiculous. Do they have a? Also about us, meet the masters. Yep. But rained. He went from working in hospitality into forging a very successful career in Scotch whisky. Spells working for the illustrious giants of bean century has been a whiskey world. So yeah, I mean, bang on, absolutely bang on. What is the drink drive deaths UK 2020? Well, let's go 21. There were an estimated 200 fatal drink driving collisions in 2020, unchanged from 2029. The total number of drink drive collisions of all severities fell by 14% from 2019 to 2020 to 4,600. So, 10 times the amount of people. Well, that's just the number of fatal collisions, not necessarily the amount of people that died. Involving illegal alcohol levels. So, provisional estimates of casualties in accidents involving at least one driver or rider over the drink drive limit in Great Britain for 2020 are that between 190 and 250 people were killed in drink driving accidents, with a central estimate of 220 fatalities. So, 10 times that of people that die from guns, mostly illegal firearms. It's just like the sort of irony there is really lost, isn't it? I feel so strongly that guns should be banned because we never want to see we never want to see children die, but I'm going to work for an alcohol company. Like, I'm not saying I've got a problem. I'm not saying I've got a problem with alcohol companies and people working for them, because things that could be inherently dangerous can be controlled, right? If everything in moderation, and again, it's down to the person. It's not the drink that does the driving. It's the person that chooses to get into the car. And then so good, deaths due to alcohol in the UK. So it's not even drink driving. Digging deeper into alcohol related deaths. Subtle cookies. Here we go. Oh, what? According to the latest data from the Office for National Statistics, deaths from alcohol-specific cases in the UK have increased from 11.8 per 100,000 people to 14 per 100,000 people. This is an increase by 18.6%, is the highest year-on-year change in 20 years, and notable and worrying change given relatively stable rates since 2012. So what are the actual figures? It's like all by 100,000, but it's going to be large, isn't it? It's like population of the... Let me do some maths. UK population, so it's currently 67 million. 1, 2, 3, yeah. Divided by 100,670. Probably could have done that in my head. 670. No, don't do it. What did it say? It said it's now 14 per. So 670 times 14 is 9,380 deaths per year attributed to alcohol. Gun crime. Alcohol deaths. It's like that. Gun crime. Alcohol deaths. You know, deaths due to firearms. Death due to alcohol. Like, what's the bigger issue here? Like, like, I wonder if anyone's done child deaths due to alcohol. Millions of parents drink too much, and their misuse of alcohol causes horrific problems for their children. Alcohol misuse was implicated in 37% of cases of a child's death or serious injury after abuse or neglect between 2011 and 2014. Save the children. Ban beer. Like, see, this is what I mean. Is these people, like, you know, and I get it. I get why it works, because it's like, you know, my sister was killed, and everyone, you know, okay, right, yeah, that's sort of, yeah, that's really bad, and okay, well, we'll let the guy talk, and like, obviously, you know, he's very passionate about this, but you know, meanwhile, he's attributing to something that kills near 10,000 people a year. It's like, fuck. The guy pushing this works for a major alcohol company, but he doesn't think we should ban booze, stop drink driving. It's awful, people died, but shooting is not to blame. Yeah. The brother LinkedIn is an incredible thing. Or also, you are full of nuggets. Please, can somebody in Discord change Black Guinea Pig's name to Nugget Boy? I expect it. This should be done. Please go away and do. Whoever, like, Daniel, into Discord now. No questions asked. Black Guinea Pig now needs to be called Nugget Boy. I will boycott Discord if I go there after the stream and he is not now called Nugget Boy. Well, I wonder how much of his whiskey has caused drunk driving deaths. I wonder how many bottles that he's facilitated the sales of have been consumed on game shoots. Yeah, another, yeah. Yeah, so this is what I mean. Like, why? Like, everyone's scared of talking to these people and, you know, challenging them. Like, that's a pretty solid, like, just shut up, right? Like, you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to firearms. You're making it sound like this massive big deal, that we have this massive problem, that practical shooting is going to lead to you know, school shootings up and down the country. Like, meanwhile, you're peddling something that kills 10,000 people a year. Like, you're obviously not that that bothered by life prevention, right? It's, you know, what you should do is just, like, you know, play them at their own game. Like, sit down for an interview and wheel out somebody that has lost a sibling due to a drunk driver, or has lost a sibling due to alcohol poisoning or consumption or you know, overconsumption or whatever, and go, you know, it's like an immovable force, an immovable object and an unstoppable force, you know, just like, do you want to, you know, maybe, you know, just like, you know, do what this journalist is and, like, hold them up as some sort of shield. Like, I can say what you want because I've got someone that, you know, is, anyway. Black Guinea Pig's a mod on Discord. Well, do it yourself then. Nugget Boy. Can I change? Can I change your name on here? Like, anyway. Look up the stats to do with deaths for medical negligence by the NHS. I honestly don't want to. I'll never go to hospital again. Yeah. Anyway, firearms licensing, the real issue, of course. Or let's say I can't believe that. The real issue here, not firearms or practical shooting. Things aren't looking good. Again, there was a bit in Field Sports Channel News about Devon and Cornwall. And I think this is what's really sparked it. So this is now the automated message that you get if you contact firearms licensing in Plymouth or in Devon and Cornwall. Following changes to Home Office guidance and new legislation, and they've pointed out it's not legislation, it's guidance, is now a requirement for GP report. Sufficient delays before we contact you. Unless absolutely necessary, please do not make further inquiries with us about your application, as this administration may cause further delay. The use of weapons when they are firearms. Basically, it's an excuse of why we're not doing our job, right? Despite, again, we know that they had like 2 years to get up to speed with the new statutory guidance, and they failed to do that. Very much, they should have got up to speed, because it probably would have prevented Plymouth. And this is again, this sort of gives me the heebie-jeebies, but as a bit of backstory, we know about this report, the review of firearms licensing departments in England and Wales, where BASC basically goes out there and says, look, we need an independent body, and firearms licensing should follow forensic science's example, says BASC. And this is the very same Martin Parker was talking about earlier. BASC's head of firearms, Martin Parker, is urging firearms licensing authorities to follow the forensic science model of independent regulation and accreditation. This is why I'm still on the fence, because a lot of what Martin Parker comes out with, I think, is absolutely brilliant. And of course, this whole review was because of him. Parker, who worked on the BASC report that called for an overhaul of licensing of the licensing service in England and Wales, recently chaired the first in-person meeting of the Forensic Science Regulators Specialist Firearms Group. Sorry, don't mind me. It's the first time I've heard of it. Because it's new. Members introducing through forensics. Oof. I'm going to have to look at this later on. Because, I thought this was Nabis's bag. I'm going to have to do a little bit more digging on this. That's anyway. Of the Forensic Science Regulators Specialist Firearm Group, externally regulated and accredited with well-trained scientists at the helm, forensic science acts as a safeguard when firearms cases are processed in courts in the UK. This helps in preventing errors in classification and potential miscarriages of justice. This is to the benefit of all BASC members who are in possession of a firearms license. Okay. Martin, who joined BASC from the National Ballistics Intelligence Service, NABUS, where he held the role of chief scientist, said, "There is much that firearms licensing could learn from forensic science. An independently regulated service with consistent national training would avoid many of the inconsistencies we currently see in license." Alongside BASC Director of Firearms Bill Harriman, Martin was also recently involved in the training of forensic firearms experts at the Metropolitan Forensics Lab. Now, again, this is sort of like a be careful what you wish for moment, because if you know my whole heebie-jeebies that he's come from the organisation that has actually caused gun owners a hell of a lot of pain. I'm not talking about BASC. He's gone to BASC. Maybe that's why. And it's like there's just an element of mistrust there. This whole incestuous nature of police being very involved with BASC in terms of ex-police members in BASC, and them being maybe a little bit too buddy at times, and then an organisation that has been pretty anti-gun, calling for the ban of Mars and lever release and 50 BMG, and this is now it just doesn't sit right. There's also this issue, the whole thing about this, an independently regulated service with a consistent national training. Like, I can see where this is going in terms of the national training, because there is currently one accredited or one authorized provider of training from outside of the police. I've covered these guys on the channel before. Mowbray Partners, right? Basically, it's a group of ex-police officers that are now using their experience in the police for financial gain, to sell their knowledge and expertise back to the police. But what they have, the only 2 videos that they have is specifically on firearms licensing, and it's a FELWIG, which is the Firearm Explosives Licensing Working Group promotional video. And the thing that I really don't like is who is driving it, or who is providing the training. Now, this name might not actually mean anything to most people. It's fairly significant for me, because Mark Groothius was the head of Hampshire Firearms at the time that I lost my licenses. It was Mark Groothius that was representing the police and Hampshire Firearms in the court during my appeal. It's Mark Groothius that actually didn't fully know the law, or deliberately tried to mislead the judge about specific aspects of the law within my appeal. It's Mark Groothius that, again, either accidentally or otherwise confused certain important facts around my case. Mark Groothius is anti-gun. He is as anti-gun as he comes. The reason Hampshire has the reputation it does is the lasting legacy of his time at the helm, right? He set Hampshire up to instead of being there to give out licenses, it was there to give out as little as possible. And this is the person that is now formulating the official training being rolled out to police forces across the country. They are the only company, they are the only group outside of the police that are able to give training. And then, he's been involved with NABUS, he's been heavily involved in FELWIG, where in his capacity as working for NABUS, so has Martin Parker. So you can sort of, there's this sort of speculation of, here are people that have worked, on, let's call it on the other side to us, right? And it's like, well, at some point I want to get out of the civil service, and I probably want to make a shitload of money and retire. So, you know, what we'll do is I'll go off and I'll, you know, with these Mulberry partners, formulate this commercial training package, which is going to be heavily biased against firearms owners and firearms licensing, and it is going to come from the aspect of don't you dare give out a certificate if you can help it. And what I'll do is I'll go off to BASC, the largest shooting organisation within the country, and what I'll do is I'll call for a centralised, consistent training, right? Like you can, you know that is incredible speculation, right? That's not, I can't. There's nothing to substantiate that, but you can. You start to put one and one together, and you're getting the rough outline of two here, right? It just seems the obvious connection, and that's why I'm just not, you know, this whole thing about, whilst I think it's absolutely brilliant showing just how bad firearms licensing is, you know, let's not forget that the police generally couldn't do a worse job with firearms licensing if they tried, which sort of starts to make you think that they are deliberately trying to sabotage firearms licensing. BASC is coming out with stuff like this to show how ridiculously bad that they're doing and inefficient, and everyone's calling for a call to change firearms licensing, which I think it is needed, but it's going to be heavily moulded by the likes of BASC. It's going to be heavily moulded. Any changes will be heavily moulded by the likes of Martin Parker, like Mark Gruthius, like, you know, people under Nabis, and, you know, those sorts of people that aren't necessarily our friends. So yes, we get this massive change, but is it going to be for the better? And I guess that's the biggest risk, isn't it? Is something unknown better than what we currently have? Alex Dale, my dad and I were hit by a drunk driver, and I hold them in as much contempt as anybody who uses firearms illegally. To right as well. Brett, sorry, it's been a bit of a juggling plates or spinning plates day today. Sorry, yeah, I did get your message. I will get back to you as soon as possible. Do you think licensing will be privatized? Yes, I think that is where, well, not necessarily privatized. Either privatized, or there will be some centralized, independent, hopefully, group that does it. But it depends how much. It doesn't necessarily need to officially go privatized to be privatized. Again, if we're already seeing the training of firearm and quarry officers and firearms licensing, people that work within firearms licensing, if we are already seeing them being trained by commercial private companies, then it sort of becomes, you know, it becomes privatized from within. So yeah, whether officially privatized or the main functions of it are outsourced to private companies, like, yeah, I think ultimately it will probably go privatized, and there's going to be a lot of people that make a shitload of money out of it. Like, mark my words on that, there are going to be some people that retire very, very healthily, and 100% they're going to be the sort of people that, again, are not our friends as shooters or as firearms owners. But yeah, bit of a doom and gloom today, but that's what I'm here. That's what I'm here for. Some positivity heading into the weekend is well, positivity and a little bit of negativity, because it's the last scheduled matches of the year, certainly the last level 3 of the year. But heading way up north, first to shoot a mini rifle match up at Tall Trees, a range that I've never been to. Very much looking forward to that. And then that's only a UK PSA level 1. It's sort of like a club match, but I'm using it for training and to stay fresh on mini rifle as much as possible, so I'm not so rusty when the season kicks off again next year. And a level 3 action air match up in Carlisle, which I'm very much looking forward to. Ended up going, I don't know if you guys saw it, I've got the video here somewhere. Where did you go? Yeah, so I was down at Frome the weekend just gone, and had a great time there. Really well run match, and in a way really well run, but I was a bit like bemused that they hadn't put it as a level 3. It was 10 stages, and it could have quite happily, like, they could have easily have added a couple more stages to make it like a level 3, or maybe even just a level 2. So yeah, I had a great time there. Really interesting, fun stages. Ended up 3rd overall and 3rd in standard, beaten by Paul, the minor bastard. But did end up picking up a stage win in this. So for those of you that don't know, the gun that I'm using isn't this one anymore. I just have the Glock-alike, just because, really. So I'm shooting a 2011 WE high capper that's been raced by the hands of Paul. I really need to do a video with him on that gun because I don't really know what he's done. I just handed it to him and go, make it fast. And it's been running brilliantly, like really big difference straight out of the box. It had a few issues, and Paul has made it competition ready. So if you're interested in an action air, or you want to race your action air, you can give Magload an email. We will do that. We also have accounts with a lot of the action air or airsoft suppliers, so we can pretty much get any gun that you want, and we can do as many modifications. But yeah, this fun little stage, it's the biggest stage, and ended up taking the stage win, much to Paul's dismay, because he said that my stage plan was stupid, was slow, and that I shouldn't do it, and then I beat him with it. But I love the speed of action air. Action air is just such a rapid. It's the fastest IPSC discipline by, like, easily. And I mean, I'm going. I set the fastest time, so this is like the quickest the stage was done. But you got to watch Paul on some of his stages. It's just absolutely rapid because there's no recoil. So you can just absolutely blat. So yeah, really enjoyed that stage because it went really well. WE cheap and nasty, get a TM based one. Again, the choice of that gun was purely down to Paul. Now Paul is a multiple national champion in action air, one of the top juniors in the world. I think came third junior in the world at the last action air world shoot, and he's very much going for the overall win in standard at the next world shoot, whenever or wherever that will be. So I really trust his opinion. So it's like, right, the Glock's not working out for me, don't shoot a Glock in action air. Like, they don't work, and they can't be made to work. So I said, to Paul, get me a base gun that is going to work. He went for the WE 2011 high capper, and it needed some tweaks. I think all in all, I'm about maybe 400 pounds into the gun, maybe 500 pound with all the magazines. But yeah, it's like new barrel, new. Yeah, I know it's got a new barrel. I know it's had some stippling, and like new knockers on the mags, which has made a massive difference on it. And yeah, the frustrating thing about action air is like, well, the frustrating thing about any sort of competitive shooting is equipment failure, right? And whilst that can be prevented most times, like action air, the guns are incredibly particular, and you can do everything right. You really have to manage the equipment far more than other disciplines. So it tends to be the equipment that like lets you down. But Paul has done absolutely everything possible to ensure that it doesn't, and it didn't at this match, and I am hopeful that it doesn't at the level 3, and if there's poor performance, it's all down to me. Are you going to talk about Action Air PCC being on the suggestions for the General Assembly of IPSC? I wasn't aware of that. That would be pretty cool if it does. I would, well, not necessarily Action Air, well, it'd be basically the same thing, but like Action Air mini rifle, that would be insane. Like, I'd be up for that, because it's more practice. At Tall Trees, look out for the bloke on the black Harley. I'm going to assume that's you, and not just like there's just some known random shady dude on a black Harley that hangs out around Tall Trees. The level 3 mini rifle and level 3 PS dates are up for pro shoot. Woo. What type of gas do you use? I don't know. Red gas at the moment. Oh no, green gas. I've got green gas at the moment. Paul says to use that his preference is red gas, but you can't get any at the moment, so we're all shooting green gas. But we will do. I will get Paul on the channel talking a bit more about Action Air and the gun setup. It's just time and availability to do those videos. Yeah, it's me, and I am shady. Great, my sort of person. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Before you all go, make sure you've hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed for any future videos. I hope you've enjoyed this evening's stream. There will, of course, be one next week, same time, same place on the channel, half 8 on Thursday UK time. Yeah, if you've got shooting this week, hope it all goes well, hope you have fun. But yeah, I'm going to call it there. We've got a bit of a trek tomorrow. Going to have to get into the office early to get a few bits, because we're going to be heading way up close to the wall. But yeah, have a great week. Thanks everyone for joining. Hope you've all enjoyed it. Of course, as always, guys, I hope to see you soon.